Hi everyone. Okay, today we're going to talk about index match, or I'd like to call index double match. Um, Index is a function in Google Sheets that allows you to return the value inside of a cell. Based on certain criteria, you need to give the row, the column, as well as the key that you're looking for to get the value. It's another kind of key value pairing, which is very prominent in spreadsheets. Now, what I have, I usually go into the the VLOOKUP match because I love that one. I also love index match because it really is just as powerful as VLOOKUP match. But you need to kind of know how to work it. Now, let's go into the first example. Here we've got like office space. You know, you're a person, you're dealing with a high-end office space rental service, and you have these different office space conference rooms, offices, and auditoriums that you rent out for a good amount of money per month. As I said, it's high-end. And what you want to do right now is you want to find out how much auditorium 3 is the per diem rate. You just want to pull that out. Pretend that this is a much larger spreadsheet than it is. So how do we do that? Well, one thing we do is we can do the index function really quickly. Index takes 3 arguments. Okay, index. C takes the reference and row and column, which you see the square brackets means that they're optional, which is kind of curious, but either way, you do need, it makes sense to actually just put in one row, one column, or whatever you want to do if you want to get a specific number. However, if you want to recreate a particular array in full, then you would omit the row and column and just use the reference, and that's it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and let's do the index function to see, to break it down to see how we pull this off. So we have equals index. And in this case, the reference we're going to do is we're going to do the data that we're looking for, basically the list or the array of values. So we're going to use, it's right here, B2 to D10. Okay, now here's where it gets kind of, there's a manual part to it because you need to actually pick the particular row and the column. So for the auditorium 3, since we're looking for that, we go 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So we actually put in the 4. And then we're going 3 rows across because when we're dealing with the rows, we're only dealing with the value array. Normally, in some other functions, like in VLOOKUP, you'd have to go straight from the absolute left all the way across. But in this case, we're just going to be doing the number of rows within the data that we're looking for. So we're going to go column 1, column 2, column 3. So we're looking for the per diem rate, so it's column 3. And there we go. We have 2092. Now, when we go ahead and we say, okay, I want this to be what? Auditorium 1 instead of auditorium 3, right? What happens? Nothing, because it is actually locked into that. It's manually put in. So you need to have it where it is practical, reproducible, which means that you need to have references to those cells or to that particular cell. So we're going to put back auditorium 3 for this example. So what we're going to do is this is where the match comes in. Okay, so in this cell we're going to be creating the match function formula so that we can just pull out any office space area that we want to look up. So we're going to go equals match. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the first parameter of match. Is the search key, the range, and then the search type. In this case, my search type is always going to be 0 because I'm going to be looking for an exact match. So my search key is A13. Then what am I going to search? Where am I going to search for that parameter? Or that search key? Here. So we're going to go from A2 to A10, or however long your array is going to be, but in this case, A2 to A10. And again, we're going to go 0, and as you can see, the answer is going to come out to be 4. which is exactly what we want. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to take that match formula and we're going to replace it. Hold on a second. And we're going to replace it here. We're going to replace this 4 with it. So now we have index, this array, and then we're going to be looking at this particular key, where we're going to look for that key, and the exact match. And now we have 3, the column that we're going to be looking for. Okay? So let's see how this, well, we already know how it's going to come out. It's going to come out to be 2092. But the only difference is now that if we were going to sit there and look for auditorium 1 like we did before, it's going to come out with auditorium 1's per diem rate. Now, when we're looking, and it also changes here, see right here, it actually changes the auditory, where the location for auditorium 1's per diem rate, which is very handy. Okay, so let me go ahead and change this back to auditorium 3 and just keep it consistent for this example. And now we're going to go ahead and build up the second match argument that's going to give us the column. Because, as I said, we are locked into this right here. It's manually 3, but if we wanted to change, if we wanted to, for example, look up the number of seats, right? Again, nothing would happen. So we need to break that down and build up the match argument for the columns. So here's how we do this. Match, oops. And what's the reference we're looking for, the key we're looking for is per diem rate, or in that particular cell. That cell will change. Now, where are we going to look for this? In these 3 columns right here. So B1 to D1. Because we don't want to go, again, we don't want to go through all 4 columns, because we're only going to be looking for the data in those 3 columns. That is all index C's. If index gives you, if you go to the 4th column, it's going to mess things up. So if you're going to, when you're going to do this, you stick to the data array of the values you want to look for, the headers as well as the numbers themselves. Keep the reference separate, and I'll explain something. I'll show you something later on. And of course, we're going to go ahead and do an exact match. And you can see already it comes out to be 3, which is perfect. So now we're going to copy and replace. So now we have B12, B1, D1, and 0. And again, we have the per diem rate for that specifically. Now, if I wanted to, for example, take a look at the seats, that's a 100-seater for auditorium 3, but what about auditorium 1? It would be 225 seats. Everything is now it's dynamic. So you can play around with this a little bit more, of course. But what I meant was, now I'm going to actually get rid of this for a minute. Yeah, I'm going to keep those anyway. For the index match, or in this case, index double match formula, it's very interesting because you can have this column right here in a different location. For example, hold on a second, let me see if we can move this, grab that. You can have this in a different location, and it will still work. In fact, the match just basically moves along with it. So you can have your office space over here, but then you can have your seats and all your stuff over here. You can even move the headers over, and it will still work. Let me see if I can move that over here. Sorry about that. I seem to be having a little bit of trouble with my... Anyway, I'll get it done anyway. And it will still work. So if you wanted the square footage, probably should have abbreviated that or whatever. The square footage of 503 for auditorium 1. Great. The square footage of auditorium 2 is 487. All of this information is in a different location on the sheet, and it still works. That's the versatility of index double match, because I know with VLOOKUP, you have to have it in the leftmost. You have to start in the leftmost and then move on. So this tends to be one of the more preferred formula combinations for a lot of people. It is, like I said, it's just as powerful, if not more powerful than VLOOKUP match, but I love VLOOKUP match, and I also love index match for different reasons. So again, index double match is a very dynamic and powerful combination that you can use to pull whatever information from the array. You just need to make sure that you are putting in the right arrays, the array boundaries, to make sure you're getting the right information. So go ahead, play around with it, check it out, have fun with it, and leave any comments in below to see. Let me know if you have any other formula combinations that you want me to explore. And enjoy, have a great day, and stay safe.